Evening. This is Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and I'm hoping to be joined tonight by the world famous remote viewer, Honor Lottering. I'm not quite sure where she is, but hopefully she'll be joining us shortly. So, a couple of announcements before we get started. Paul's not here tonight, he's got to be somewhere else. I very much appreciate your input on this. Should I start another channel, or should I rename this one to Co-Creating the New Earth Together? I'm in two minds as to whether to repurpose this channel or to start another one maybe later in the week, maybe on a Friday or something. So please do let me know what you will think about that. The purpose very much of my book, Love Not Fear, and of everything I've been doing has been around co-creating the new earth. The book all is about different ways that we can live together in peace and harmony, live in love and not fear, as the title says. And I feel we've been concentrating a little bit in this show over recent months on what's wrong in the world. The thing is, we all know what's wrong in the world. Everybody who comes on this channel, I would think, pretty much knows what's wrong with the world. You don't need to keep being reminded by me or Paul or anybody else. We've really got to start focusing more on solutions. So that's why I want to repurpose this channel or start another one. Very much appreciate your opinions on that. Now, I really don't know where Honor is. I'm sorry. I was talking to her just 10 minutes ago, and she was all keen to come on. So maybe she's having some technical difficulties. She hasn't contacted me to say she's having technical difficulties. So I better just waffle on for a bit, I suppose. If she doesn't come on now, then maybe we can have her on a different week. So how can we live in love and not fear? How can we rebuild the new earth based on love and generosity instead of fear and meanness? Well, the main thing I talk about in my book is giving up money. And that has to be money and barter, because anything that involves counting the cost, the bean counting, leads to meanness, leads to fear, and fear leads to meanness. The fear of not having enough, the fear that somebody else is getting a better deal than you're getting. It's this whole mindset, that that we've got to get away from. As St. Ignatius said in his famous prayer, to give without counting the cost, to toil without asking for any reward. So I think that's got to be the way forward. What goes around comes around. I do you a favor. Maybe I'll give you some surplus produce from my allotment. Or I build you a website. I'm quite good at doing that. Or whatever it happens to be. And you do Mary a favor, and Mary does Josephine a favor, and Josephine does Peter a favor. Peter does George a favor, and maybe eventually George or somebody further down the line will do me a favor. It's got to be that flexible. It's got to be that informal. I call it an informal free gift economy because the informal bit means no government interference. People talk about communism and they talk about capitalism as if there were only those two options. But no, there's a third option. And the third option is an informal free gift economy where we all just help each other. We're all generous by nature. I think it is human nature to be generous. I really do. I think it's what I call the game we did not devise, that we were born into. This, what some people call the matrix. This illusionary world based on false values that makes us mean. And that's what it's designed for. It's designed to make us live in fear and be mean to one another. That's the whole point of it. Because when we're living in fear, we're easier to control. That's what the Great Reset's all about. That's what the events of the last couple of years have been all about. It's been making people live in fear so they can easily be controlled and manipulated. And we've seen how that's panned out, haven't we? So can we move beyond that? Can we just flip a switch in the head, in the mind? Instead of thinking, what can I get? Can we think, what can I give? Yeah. Hello, Victory. Yeah, let's not get into that. Let's not. I'll pull up what Victory said. I don't actually think it's very nice. It's important that we don't demonize other groups, that we don't divide and conquer, divide and separate, because that's the whole point of this world that we're living in. The whole point of the world, the game we did not devise, is to set one group against another. Children in school over the last couple of years who haven't conformed with the government regulations have been told to wear a gold star, like the ones the Jews had to wear, to distinguish them from normal society. Let's not go down there, please. Let's not go back to that. So where was I? Victory is talking about the 230 plus year plan that the Rothschilds started using Hamilton since 1791. But of course, the Rothschilds aren't Jews. They pretend to be Jews, but they're not Jews. And I'm not going to go into all that here now. This is not what this program's about. Read David Icke's stuff about the Rothschilds. He's delved deeply into the family history. Apparently, they were related to Adolf Hitler. I'm not going to get into all that here. This isn't the place for it. You can do your own research on that. But we don't want any hate of any one group or another group, or the unjibby-jabbed, or anybody else. In fact, one of my Facebook groups is called Universal Equality. It's this idea that we all have the same basic rights and responsibilities. regardless of race, religion, gender, jibby-jab status. I've got to say that, unfortunately, because of the census, or anything else. This is what I live for. And let's just have that offer there for a bit. I don't know where you've come in from, Victor. Are you a friend of Honor's? And if so, do you know where she is and why she's not here? I don't think you're one of my followers. Yeah, just be curious to know how you found out about us. So how are we going to start this free gift economy? Well, I talk an awful lot about community gardens, as you know, and I'm always shouting out for Juliet Yelverton and her community garden down in Glastonbury, which is a model for anybody to follow. And what I'm suggesting well, I don't think I'm going to be. We're not going to talk about that, Victory. Okay, this is not the program to talk about that. So please, can we change the subject, please? Yeah, community gardens. If we can have community gardens, and I'm in the process of starting one here in Stafford with some friends. And we can open it to start off with. Yeah, you come along, you do some gardening, you take food away. No money changes hands, although there may be a small monthly subscription to pay for tools and seeds and stuff while we're still living within the greater economy. Bear with me just a second, please. Honor, hi. Are you? Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Right, that was Honor, and she's about to join us any second now. So we should look forward to that. So just ending up what I was saying about community gardens, if we can open those up to other skills apart from gardening, we let the plumber in, we let the electrician in, and all the other skills, whoever happens to be living locally who wants to get involved. And, you know, if, as I keep saying, if you've been feeding the plumber and his family all winter and your pipes burst, you'd be jolly glad that you have been, you know. What goes around comes around. And it particularly works out, it's very good for alternative therapists, complementary therapists. But eventually, let's get the doctors and dentists involved. Let's get the people that run the bus company involved. Let's get everybody involved. But let's just start small and do one thing after another. Other things that I talk about in the book that we can do to stop causing it, because it's not just the government that's causing us to live in fear. We cause each other to live in fear. Because we've bought into this fear mentality. Hang on.
Sorry, Jack. It won't accept my browser. Oh, for fuck's sake. Sorry, I'm going to have to try and get the iPad on. Oh, hell, man. Sorry.
I hope you all heard that. Oh, dear. Okay. So Olive's browser's not the latest version, and she can't get on with it, so she's going to try to get her iPad going. I think it's going to be a comedy show tonight. It's going to be the Jack and Honor comedy show. Jack and Honor, or Honor and Jack, ladies first, comedy hour. Yeah, but I'm sure she'll be with us in a minute. So if you've got anybody who's listening, who's watching, you want to chip in with and comment on any of the things I've been talking about, I'd love to hear from you. And if you've got any questions for Honor when she comes on, I'd love you to put those in the chat box as well, please. Yeah. People talk a lot about population, and I'm always in trouble with the truth is, because I'm not supposed to believe in overpopulation. I'm supposed to be told that's a fallacy. We could all stand shoulder to shoulder on the island of Madagascar, but I don't want to stand shoulder to shoulder with anybody. I like to have plenty of space and plenty of resources. And I want to leave plenty of resources for all the other species that share this planet with us. So yeah, we do have to keep our numbers in check. We're up to nearly 8 billion now, I think, something like that, 7.8 billion last time I looked. I'm sure someone's got the latest update figure. So yeah, only reproducing as many people as we need to replace ourselves, maybe a little bit less in order to bring the numbers down a little bit. The way that the New World Order, Agenda 2130 is trying to do it, is just plain wrong. But I mean, I'm old school. You can see by looking at me, I'm old school. I'm 70 in June, and we were shouting about all this back in the 60s. Yeah, you can imagine me in the hippie era with my long hair and and beads. But, yeah, I haven't got any pictures, by the way, so don't ask me. And I said back then that if we don't do something about the population, that hang on, Honor's back on, then Mother Earth's going to have us off her back. Dear. Right, Honor's just sent me a screenshot saying that her browser's not supported. So I don't think we're going to have her on tonight, unfortunately. Yeah. Just bear with me a second, please. I've also got another voice message, so...
No, I'm not getting it right. I'm sorry, Jack, man. It won't. I know. And I can get into my restream, and it didn't say there was any problem. And I've got the latest, and I've checked my updates. There's no update, so I don't know. But I'm trying to use a link from here. So everything they do is try and open it. It opens in Facebook. This is a problem. Shit. Should have done it by WhatsApp. So next time, can we reschedule it? And we'll have to do a trial run beforehand. So let's do a trial run to make sure we can get on. It works first. But I think send me the link via WhatsApp, not via here, because when I open it here, it opens always in. It won't even let me open in the browser. It opens via. It goes via. It stays in kind of Facebook and it opens, and it won't let me join. For fuck's sake! So I don't know. I can't even get the link. You see, you can't copy the link onto the iPad either. I think I'll get WhatsApp on the iPad. Shit, I can't do that.
So sorry about this, just bear with me. No, and I've suggested that she sends me her email address, and then I'll send the link to that email address. I don't know why it's not working for her. Yeah, what was I talking about? Population. So yeah, I mean, Mother Earth hasn't had us off her back, but groups of people have had us off, trying to have us reduce our numbers. We should have done it 40 years ago. 60 years, is it? No, 50 years. We should have done it 50 years ago when I first started talking about this. Hang on. Right, I've now got Honor's email address, so bear with me just a second, please. I'm really hoping she can come on tonight. I really, really am. Because I've been looking forward to this all week. I really have. Well, since we first scheduled it, I can't remember exactly when it was.
I'm going to have to try it tomorrow. This is so bloody irritating. I can't believe it. So I'm going to have to try and set it up. Otherwise, I'll just use my, the new computer I got. I'll just have to make sure I'm going to have to use a computer and not my phone then. I can't say that. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what bullshit it's going on about. So it's probably best that I sit, on my desk and charge that new computer of mine. I hope. Let me think. Have I even connected? Shit. What a nightmare. Everything's on my phone. And I can connect via it, so I don't know why it's doing that. I honestly have no freaking clue. It just doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of nonsense. I don't know. But it seems to be, maybe it's because it's Messenger. I really haven't a clue. So I say, let's practice tomorrow. I think we're going to have to practice this, make sure we can connect first before we set the time and alive.
So yeah, it looks like Honor's not going to be joining us tonight. So I'll probably just make this a short one. And see if we can reschedule it for Friday, possibly. That would be great. If you all want to come and join me again on Friday, that would be lovely. We'll see what we can do. Anyway, just an idea. I was talking about doing a Friday show, wasn't I? So maybe I can get ready, and maybe this Friday will be up my first Friday show, and maybe Honor will be my first guest on it. I mean, that would be wonderful. Because I quite like doing this one with Paul on a Monday. There's a good bit of crack goes on between us, and it works quite well normally. So yeah. So possibly co-creating the New Earth together. Our first show will be this Friday at 6:30. Maybe. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Hang on.
Because I went on earlier on and I logged into my thing and I connected my channels, like it said, join, and then so I didn't think there'd be a problem. And I kept doing it and it just would, and I thought, okay, well, I'm doing something wrong. It won't, sorry, I just couldn't, it just wouldn't let me on. And then I kept checking. I went to my settings and I checked that and whatever. So I'm baffled. I don't even have my mail on I never use my iPad for my email. So, of course, I don't remember because you automatically log them in. So I haven't even got my email on my iPad to try and get into that one. I have to open the other old computer to get the password, whatever. So I need to check this out tomorrow beforehand or something. So you're going to have to give me a time, like say, okay, tomorrow 1 o'clock, let's try and connect, so I can set it up, you see. I've been trying to do it with Linda because I said to Linda I wanted to live stream to YouTube and I've never tried yet. Anyway, but she hasn't come back to us.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. I tell you what. I mean, okay, if we're going to be doing the other show for everything that's to work towards the New Earth, and we keep this show more or less as it is, maybe I can talk to you a little bit more about that document that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. That's come in to me. So just read a little bit of this to you. Whoops! Oh dear. Jack's Heath Robertson studio. Because remember I was doing this document about the new normal, about what they're actually trying to bring in. So I can do this as a bit of a filler for the time, because I should have probably had something else prepared, but I really thought that this was going to work. So not to worry. So set against the background of a corporate global state, we will explore the exploitation of communitarian civil society. We were talking about this last week, weren't we? This idea that they've been trying to bring in these community groups to advise government for, I don't know, quite a few years now, about 5 years or something. And a lot of us have been saying that, no, this is crazy because these people are not elected. They've got no right to be. I mean, they can advise government. Of course they can. Nobody's saying they can't advise. We've always had NGOs and pressure groups advising government. There's nothing undemocratic about that. But this is saying that bringing them in to share decision-making decisions, share policy-making decisions. And the policy-making decisions must be made by the people that represent us, the people that we vote for. This actually leads me on to something else I'm going to talk about. I talk about in my book, which, so let's just stop that for a minute. Something I talk about in my book, there's a chapter in my book, and it's also on the website, called, do any of you remember Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man from 1970s TV? Well, the catchphrase on that was, we have the technology, we can rebuild him. It was this guy with all these super extra parts. Made him ultra fit, made him able to jump high walls and outrun cars and stuff, you know. Well, in my book, I talk about we have the technology, we can rebuild our democracy. And what I suggest is that we get away from representative democracy and move towards direct democracy. Representative democracy is where you just give full authority to a member of parliament or a congressman if you're in America, or whatever it happens to be in your own country. And you don't get any more say for another 5 years or 4 years or whatever it happens to be where you live. Well, that's nonsense. We should be sending delegates to Parliament to speak on our behalf, and they should be coming to town meetings every week and to get their instructions. But we have chip and pin and millions and millions of pounds and dollars and euros and other currencies are handed out through these ATMs, these automatic teller machines, cash points, every week. And online shopping and all the rest of it. It's all done by chip and pin. Now, why can't we do that with politics? Why can't we do that in Parliament or Congress or whatever it is for you? Say you're MP. Say there's, I mean, just round figures here, yeah? Just round figures. Say there's 10,000 people. No, make it more realistic. So there's 100,000 people in your, 50,000 people in your constituency, in your town. I think 50,000 is a reasonable number. So you send your delegate to Parliament with 50,000 votes in his pocket. But you also have a chip and pin device on your own home computer, a card reader. And if you're interested in a particular topic, after you've heard all the debates and you've read about it through whatever sources, and you've made up your mind as to which way you want your MP to vote, you should also be able to have your own vote. You should be able to cast your own vote. So if 10,000 people vote for themselves in any particular parliamentary debate, then your MP's number of votes is reduced from 50,000 to 40,000. So he or she has a number of votes equivalent to the size of the population of the constituency, less the number of people who vote for themselves in that particular debate. Now that, my friends, would be real democracy. Now I've got some... Honor's watching anyway, so yeah, great to have you watching, Honor. Yeah, shame you couldn't actually come on, but we'll sort that out for next time. I don't know whether you've heard, but I was suggesting that maybe we do a program on Friday. But yeah, we'll get together, we'll talk about it, we'll test it all out tomorrow at 1. I think that's great. And so if you want to contribute anything to the discussion here, that would be wonderful. Now, Victory's made a few comments, so let's just have a look at some of them. I'm afraid my eyesight's not that terribly good, so I do struggle with this. Yeah, absolutely. Those organizations are out to destroy our lives. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that one. Credit score system, a Chinese credit score system. Yes, absolutely. It's my belief that everything that's been happening over the last couple of years is a prelude to bringing in a social credit system. I really do believe that. And for those of you that don't know, a Chinese-style social credit system is one where you have a digital currency and run by the state, and the state have the power to restrict your access to your own money if you've not been a very good boy or a very good girl, in their opinion. If you've attended demonstrations, if you've spoken out, if you've published something in the paper, criticizing the government or any government policy, or whatever it happens to be at the time, they can restrict your access to your own money. And we can't have that. This is why, as long as we've got money, as long as we've still got money, until we move over to the free gift economy, and I think it'll be decades before the whole world is ready, or the whole country is ready to do that. We can do it in small groups, but we can do that now in small groups, but it'll be decades before the whole country or the whole world is able to do it. So in the meantime, we must keep cash. That's the only way we can transact with the macro economy without the government knowing what we're spending it on. Remote or bank ID to vote on every case. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm really not. Just because I use chip and pin, the bank's chip and pin cards as an illustration to how the system could work, I'm absolutely not suggesting for a second that the bank should administrate it, or that we should be voting with our credit cards. Absolutely not. No, you've missed the point entirely there, I'm afraid. No, the Parliament would have to issue the voting cards if we wanted, the same way as they do now. In fact, it's a constituency that issues the voting cards. They're issued at local level. You get your polling card, don't you? Every general election or by-election, you get a polling card in the post, which you have to take in and show them, so they allow you to vote. And it won't be compulsory. I'm not suggesting everybody has to have one. It's just if you want to vote, then it's a good idea to get one. And you'd apply for it the same way as you applied to be on the electoral roll. and the local electoral commission will issue you a card, and it needs to be independent from government. It needs to be independent from a government. It needs to be independent from banks. It needs to be done by the electoral commission. Yeah. Have you come across this idea before, Honor? Have you? I mean, feel free to comment. I think that would be a great way to restore democracy to our country. It would probably be harder in bigger countries such as the United States of America, but certainly in a small country like ours, we could do that. And it must be organised and overseen by the Electoral Commission. I'm not talking about the voting machines they had in America in the last election. I can't remember where they came from. They were the Brazilian company, I think, provided them. They weren't made in America. And they were, well, there was accusations that they were being operated fraudulently, or that they were able to be overridden. So no, we've got to be very careful how we do this. And it's just an idea. I'm sure that lots of other people will have ideas, and please do chip in. It was just a way to show a bank ID device that now is used for doctors, health pages, voting, and more. Then you can use your bank ID thingy to vote on every law or change. All have a bank ID. Yeah, I think he's saying most people have bank IDs these days. Yeah, most people have bank IDs, absolutely. But we can't let this be run by the banks. I'm really trying to look at solutions here, not what's wrong with the world. But one of the main things that's wrong with the world is the banks. We call them banksters for a reason. Credit is the biggest con ever. They can lend you money that they don't have just by creating a blip on a computer screen somewhere. And you have to do a real job, work a real job to pay them back real money. And if you've bought the money to buy your house, they can take your house off you. And the money never existed in the first place until they lent it to you. It's a con. And no, we don't want crooks like that running it. Thank you very much. No, but it's government approved to log in to vote and or do other things outside of banking. I'm not quite sure what's government approved there. I don't know quite what you mean by that. I don't know what country you're from, Victory, or whether you're familiar with the system we have here. We have something called an electoral commission, which overruns who's entitled to vote. It decides who's entitled to vote. And it's independent from government. Okay. It has X tax papers. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we talked about population. We've talked about the free gift economy. We've talked about a fairer way of voting. Is there anything else particularly you'd like me to talk about today? Also, I think we've got to talk a little bit here about the press, haven't we? The media. I wrote a book before Love Not Fear called Rupert Murdoch's Hitmen, and it was all about the way that the media, particularly at that time, it was the newspapers, and TV, but all the mainstream media conspire together. I'm a conspiracy theorist, okay, conspire together, and I've proved this in the book, with governments, with Big Pharma, with the military-industrial complex, with the police and the courts, to ensnare us in their web of lies. The media get paid big money to print stories or to broadcast stories that ain't necessarily so. Fake news, yeah. I wrote that first book. The reason it's called Rupert Murdoch's Hitman is because I co-wrote it with a former News of the World journalist, and he wanted to get back at Murdoch. But yeah, it's a lot bigger than just one news group. I pointed out in that book that the guy that was running the BBC at that time also ran British Aerospace, the biggest arms dealer in the country, one of the biggest arms dealers in the world. So is it surprising that the BBC were saber rattling to go to war? America particularly, and it always seems to be the Brits that follow suit. We used to call Tony Blair Bush's poodle, didn't we? And why are there so many wars? Come on, someone's got to think about why there are so many wars. It's not because one group hate another group. It's not because of the color of people's skins or their religions. And it's certainly not because of the existence of national borders. Wars are caused by people crossing national borders, carrying guns. Yeah. So whenever there's a chance of a war somewhere in some foreign country, some far away from us, so it's not going to affect us too much, we'll send a few of our troops over there to die, cannon fodder. I know, I was one of them many years ago. And it's all done to put money in the banks, in the bank accounts of the arms dealers and the banksters that support the arms dealers. The arms dealers support both sides in every war. Just follow the money. Come on, I spent a little bit of time in journalism. And the first thing they taught me is always follow the money. If it doesn't seem to make it, story doesn't seem to make any sense, just follow the money. See who's earning from it. See who's gaining from it. And the politicians go along with it, of course they do. They're all getting backhanders. As I say, I don't really want to say anything that can get me banned on YouTube because I've already got one strike against me. But I put an article out, I don't know, a year ago now, 18 months ago, when all this current thing started up. And I pointed out all the people that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have donated big money to. Big money. Matt Hancock, and I can't remember who it all was now. I haven't got it all in my head. I've had to look it up. But yeah, all the big decision makers have received money from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And it's the same with wars. Profit, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Victory. It's all for profit. Moving money from taxpayers to the people in government. Yeah, absolutely. And the last 2 years has all about been moving money from the small corner shops, the independent businesses, closing them down and giving all their profits to the big corporations like Amazon. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that means, but anyway, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I think you're saying I should move this channel onto one of the other channels and leave YouTube alone. Yeah, well, unfortunately, the reason I'm on Facebook, the reason I'm on YouTube, is because this is where the big money is. This is where all the people are. Not the big money. This is where all the people are. I could go on to smaller channels and get less audience. Not that I could get much less audience, but that's another story. And maybe I will in time. Maybe I will move over to one of those channels in time. I did try brand YouTube when it first came out. And at that time, I don't know what it's like now, but at that time they were limiting my broadcasts to 10 minutes, I think it was, or something. And I could only upload, I don't know, 1 or 2 a month. I mean, it was nonsense. It may have improved since, I don't know. But yeah, I'll certainly look into the others. Oh, the other thing I need to say, part of this announcement that I was making about the Friday channel, if we decide to do it that way, and I'll also be doing it with this one, is I'm going to be doing the sound-only version of these video podcasts as sound podcasts, and they're going to be going up to all the sound podcast hosts. I did that when I first started. I'm afraid I got out of the habit of it, so I'm going to get back into that. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm 100% with you now. I'm 100% with you now. YouTube bans people for having unpopular views. Well, yeah, for having views that don't go along with the official narrative anyway. I won't say, yeah. I had my first YouTube strike, I don't know, about a year ago now. For doing a video like this in which I quoted government figures off the government website. That's all I did. I quoted government figures off the government website. And I got a ban. I got a strike. Not a ban, a strike. 3 strikes in a row with YouTube, and I got my first one. And I got the video taken down. I think what they ban people for is telling the truth, to be honest, but there you go. I know how bad it is. That's why we are on VK. Yeah, I'm on VK too. This show is going live to VK right now as we speak. VK is one of the better ones. This is going to YouTube, to Facebook, to VK, and to Twitter. And maybe it's also going to Honor's channels. I don't know, because she did set her channels apparently before she failed to come on. So yeah, it might be going to your channels as well, Honor, which will be TikTok, I suppose, and her YouTube channel. But the bottom line here, there's all these different things that we can do. The bottom line is we have to pull together, which is what I was saying at the beginning of the show. We mustn't let them set us apart from each other. We've got to pull together. And also, as I'm sure Honor would be saying if she was here now, to focus more on solutions than problems. Put your energy flows where attention goes. This is her main message, I think. Energy goes where attention goes. If you focus too much on everything that's wrong, you're going to make it worse because you're going to be feeling energy. As Mother Teresa was reputed to have said, don't invite me to an anti-war protest. Invite me to a peace rally and I'll come, but don't invite me to an anti-war protest. It's about focusing on what you want and not focusing on what you want rather than on what you don't want. And that's going to be a big focus of the new channel if we decide to do it that way. We need to be aware of what's wrong in the world, but we don't need to dwell there. We need to dwell on making it better, all the different things we can do to come together in love to build a better world, to build the new earth. Water and air go the way of least resistance. I think most things go the way of least resistance. Integrity is such a rare thing. We're talking about politicians on the take, whether to lead us into what we've just experienced for the last 2 years. I'm not going to say the word, I don't want to get banned. Or to lead us to war. It's easier to take the bribe and do as you're told than to have some integrity and actually stand up for what you believe in. David Kelly stood up for what he believed in, didn't he, during the Iraq War? Do you remember the weapons inspector that went to Iran and came away and said they don't have any weapons of mass destruction, Tony? And he addressed a select committee about it, and a few days later he wound up in an Oxford wood, having suicided himself. Yeah. A lot of people don't believe he committed suicide. In fact, the evidence shows it's pretty impossible for him to have done that to himself. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't either, if you take my opinion. And I have no intention of committing suicide, in case anybody wants to know. So if I end up in a ditch, I have not killed myself, okay? I don't think I am. I'm not a big target. I'm just a little guy. But just saying, you know. War is the game the elites play with poor people's lives. Yes, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Who loses every war? The people. Who wins every war? The bankers, the arms dealers, and the corrupt politicians. It's a war against the people. No, you don't think that most people do suicide willingly. Define willingly. I think it's an act of terrible desperation, isn't it? You've got to have really lost all hope. If you do it to yourself, I mean, people in, as I say, people in prominent positions may very well not be doing it to themselves, like some of the African leaders that suddenly died of. But the people that do actually do it to themselves, I don't know, is it willing? Is it desperation? I've never done it, but I have been tempted a couple of times, I admit that. In moments of weakness. Exactly, yeah. So I certainly won't dwell on my moments of weakness. So we've been rattling on for an hour. So thank you all very much for coming. And I'll watch my channel, watch my Facebook. Get onto my groups if you can. If you're on Facebook, get onto my groups. Get onto Love, Peace and Unity. That's one of my main ones, where I post all the notifications for the lives I'm going to do and videos that I've made. And hopefully Honor and I will be back together on Friday, if not that, then next Monday, to do the show we should have done today. So apologies for that. It's not Honor's fault. She's got technical problems. She had technical problems. We'll have to try to find a way around it for next time. If you're still on Honor, yes, I'll give you a ring tomorrow at 1, and we can do a dummy run. So that's it for tonight, folks. Namaste.